Hello, my name is Paul, and I am the voiceover for a ministry provided to you by Kym Coan at God is Government called Your Daily Bread, taken from Christ's teaching of the Lord's Prayer in Matthew chapter 6 verse 11. This is a daily devotion ministry focused not only on uplifting scripture, but scripture that will grow your spiritual connection with Christ. We hope that you receive these devotions to uplift you, encourage you, but most importantly, advance your knowledge base of the Holy Scriptures. Today's focused discussion will be on understanding God's teaching humanity. God's purpose of his creation was to create a family that he could have a daily face-to-face relationship with. We are told in Genesis 3:28 that God walked in the cool of the evening with them, Adam and Eve. We have identified that creation itself was without sin. In addition, we have identified that God had created Adam and Eve and made the Edenic covenant with humanity through Adam before sin. Once sin entered into the picture, God amended his Edenic covenant to provide a redemption process to fulfill his purpose of creation itself. Based upon sin, God had to change the process of teaching humanity face to face. He worked through particular men throughout history until Jesus finally came and completed the redemption process in fulfilling the law. Matthew 5:17-20. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not an iota, not a dot, will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever relaxes one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. As part of creation, and as being taught to Adam and Eve in their face-to-face meetings with God, were the divine laws of relationship. These laws were not only the relationship one to another, but to God, nature, scientific and physical laws of the universe. In each of these categories of laws, we find the essence of the keys of the kingdom. It is in our understanding of these laws and their relationship with God and between themselves where we find how to use the keys of the kingdom to obtain the absolute power that God intended us to have. We want to remind all of us from a quote by Charles Spurgeon once wrote, "Wisdom is the right use of knowledge. To know is not to be wise. Many men know a great deal and are all the greater fools for it. There is no fool so great a fool as a knowing fool. But to know how to use knowledge is to have wisdom." So it is here we start our journey towards knowledge of the keys of the kingdom. It is here that for those of us who are willing to understand the laws of God and their relationship one to another, the relationship they provide direct to God, and the realization that from these laws we can then follow the threads throughout all scriptures to not only identify the keys of the kingdom, but to implement them with God's absolute power of dominion over this earth. We are going to discuss one of these laws today that God taught Adam and Eve in his nightly walks in the garden, the law of reality. Moving into the creation itself, we find the reference to this as being the next law. We find this when we look to the ancient texts and biblical translations still in the book of Genesis chapter 1 that tells us, "And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. In A Course of Miracles we are told, image can be understood as thought, and likeness as of a like quality. God did create spirit in his own thought and of a quality like to his own. We find here that what God did was create man with the nature of God, reproducing his divine nature on the scale of the individual life. God is the single source of all, the mother-father principle, creating the first androgynous unit. Male and female proceed from the universal source, who is neither male nor female, but who contains the elements of both. We, as humans, are living in a little world, the world around us, within a big world. Our universal spiritual source, who is life, is self-conscious and provides words that are constantly creative, individualizes himself through his spirit, residing in physical form in this time-space reality. Hence, because we are the Spirit of God, we have all the same attributes of life as our source. We are self-conscious, and our word becomes creative in our world. It is this law that governs our total life here in this physical form. We are given a free will of choice and imagination that has chosen to experience a physical life. We have access to all the attributes of our Creator provided to us in the Spirit, which we house inside us. It is through the creative power of our own thoughts by which we create our reality. The ancient writings and biblical translations teach us of this law in many different ways. We are told what will happen when our thought is constructive, and also what will happen when it is destructive. It is the purpose of all these writings to educate us of the laws and show the way to freedom within the divine plan. The divine plan is always one of freedom of thought, freedom of choice, and freedom of life. The bondage, fear, health issues, financial issues, relationship issues, and any other issue we deal with in this life form come from our misinterpretation of the law of reality. It is through our thoughts that we limit our ability to achieve conscious energy thoughts of life. God commissioned us to walk before His eyes and perfect ourselves. Perfection is in our ability to open our minds to the hidden truths of the universal laws and live in this physical form, perfecting our knowledge of these truths. In A Course of Miracles, we are told that the miracle is much like the body in that both are learning aids for facilitating a state in which they become unnecessary. When the Spirit's original state of direct communication, our soul talking through us, directing our every action, is reached, neither the body nor the miracle serves any purpose. While we believe we are in a body, however, we can choose between loveless and miraculous channels of expression. We can make an empty shell, but we cannot express nothing at all. We can wait, delay, paralyze ourselves, or reduce our creativity almost to nothing. But we cannot abolish it. We can destroy our medium of communication, but not our potential. We did not create ourselves. Through the law of reality, we are given our free will of thought and choice, allowing us to co-create our life experiences. There are many principles and regulations provided with this all-encompassing law that govern why, how, and the effect on the relationships of source, energy, and universe. While we have been given life in this physical form through the law of reality, more laws, principles, and regulations exist that govern all of nature and our thoughts and actions. It is understanding all the laws of God that we can become what God intended us to be before He even manifested the creation of the heavens and the earth. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of God's teaching humanity. Until next time, remember to keep the faith, stay strong, and continue to shine your light in the world. To hear these daily devotions of your daily bread, please log on to goddessgovernment.com. Goodbye, and may your faith always lead the way.